it's Andy Jenkins. In this video, I want to show you a cool trick that took one of my e-commerce websites from making a little more than $1,000 a day to $2,988 per day in less than 1 month. And I did this by doubling my traffic from Google. And no, I didn't pay for that traffic increase either. It was not pay-per-click traffic. It was what most people call natural traffic, delivered to this site here, A Squared Armory, right from the Google search engine results pages. You're probably asking yourself, how hard is this going to be? Well, let me put it to you this way. If you've built a website, in Dreamweaver or FrontPage or NetObjects Fusion, it really doesn't matter how you built your website. You could have hand-coded HTML in Notepad. The point is, if you've built even one website, you already have the skills that it takes to do what I'm about to show you. And that's true. If you've got a site out there right now, you've got the skills. You just need to take some action. I can remember when I got my first good search engine listing. I was so excited. I thought, look out, this is it. Here comes the cash. Well, yeah, not so much. It wasn't until I got multiple search listings that my e-commerce business really started to take off and make me some real money. And then finally, one of my e-commerce stores got a #1 ranking for a tier 1 keyword. And that was totally cool. But even though that #1 position really was a game changer for that store, it was only getting like 25% of the traffic numbers that WordTracker said it should be getting. So I went to work, examining human eye gaze data and testing new techniques and tactics to get more traffic from Google. Once I figured this out, my life really did change. The little Yahoo store of mine went from making hobby, kind of like tell your family about it at holiday meals money, to call the accountant, we're gonna need a tax shelter kind of money. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Follow along with me here. This is a pretty typical search engine results page. It has, the 10 listings all justified along the left here. Now, you probably recognize this from our original Going Natural videos that we released over a year ago. It's a heat map, and it measures user behavior on a web page. There's generally 3 major data points here. Scanning data, which is how we look at the page, how our eyes actually go across the listings. Fixation points, and fixation points are where our eyes get stuck, and that is a good thing. And clicks, and that's where a user actually clicks through on a listing. And according to our eye gaze data, and every other study that's ever been released by iTools or Marketing Sherpa, the typical search engine listing gets a percentage of traffic based on what position it is on a search engine results page. So, if you're in the first position, you're likely to get about 25% of the total clicks that happen for that search phrase. That's not bad, but man, oh man, would I ever like to get more of that traffic. And then we discovered this, the double listing. See here, my site a2armory.com has a double listing for the search phrase medieval weapons. That's the first listing, which is the root URL or our homepage, and then there's an internal page which is indented just underneath the first listing. Now, what kind of increase in traffic do you think a double listing on a search engine results page gets? A big increase. And it doesn't matter if it's the first page or the 5th page. Having a double listing will more than double the amount of clicks you get for that keyword. And just for some proof, here's a couple of charts that actually show fixation points and click-throughs on double search listings. See how there's simple scanning activity here? Now, notice how the double listing has massive amounts of not only fixation points here, but also huge amounts of clicks. That's double the clicks, my friend. Now, how do you get this coveted double listing with indent? It's not anywhere near as hard as you think. And I'm serious. And let me tell you another thing. You don't need a #1 and #2 listing in order to double the traffic you get for that keyword. Let me repeat that. You do not need a #1 and #2 listing in order to double the traffic you currently have. You can have a 7 and 8 listing, a 13 and 14 listing, even a 40 and 41 listing, and you'll still double the amount of traffic that you currently get from that keyword in Google. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it goes without saying that you want the highest listing possible. Well, duh, right? Well, check this out. The things that I'm going to teach you to do in this video are not only going to help you get a double listing and double your traffic, they're also going to help you increase the position of the listings that you already have in the search engines. So, let's show you how to do this. The first takeaway from this concept is, right now, to get a double listing, the second part of your listing does not have to be only one spot away from the first listing in terms of ranking power. That means if you do it right, the second page that ranks as your indented listing from your site only needs to be powerful enough to be on the same page as the first search engine result listing. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you some diagrams of how this needs to work, but before we do that, here's your first action item. Find your current listing in Google and get the following information. Number 1, title tag density. This is how often your keyword appears in your page's title tag. Number 2, your title tag keyword prominence. This is where your keyword appears in your title tag. So in this case, the keyword medieval weapons appears in position number 1 and number 2 in my title tag. Your on-page density for your primary keyword. So I would get the on-page density for the keyword phrase medieval weapons from my primary page, my first listing. You can use any keyword density tool you want. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you use the same tool for measuring the second page that you create. Once you have this information, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create another page on your site that has the following characteristics. The title tag has the same keyword density and keyword prominence as your original listing page, but it's not going to be the same title tag. It's going to be slightly different. Just a little note here. These specifics are going to be our starting point. And this is a key point, folks. Whenever you do search engine optimization, you always need a starting point. And nearly 100% of the time, you will end up changing from your starting point in order to optimize. That's why there's an O in SEO. Now, as you can see in my medieval weapons double listing example, my keyword density for medieval weapons is greater on my second listing than it is on my first. Guess how I arrived at that density? I tested it. You see, I picked a starting point, which is my test, and I measured the results, and then I improved on that result by doing another test. And in this case, I increased the number of instances of the keyword phrase to get my desired result. This is a very important point. Do not just copy my keyword density. Don't do it. Why? Because it will not work for you. Every keyword is treated differently in Google because there are always different numbers of competing pages. Always. So what works for medieval weapons may not work for knight armor costumes. You see, I've got a double listing for knight armor costumes, and notice how I don't even have that keyword phrase in the second listing title tag. Just pick a starting point. You can change the specifics of density and prominence later once you have a result to actually test. Number 2. Now you're going to create new content on this second page that is optimized for the keyword phrase that your first page ranks for. This is important. Do not just duplicate the content. Write completely new content, but make the topic of that page be optimized for the keyword phrase you want to rank for. Now,